Assalamu'alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 4. The first material will be explained by Bunga. Time is yours.
Okay, thanks to moderator. I will explain about the meaning of knowledge and how to gain knowledge. First, the meaning of knowledge. Knowledge comes from the word known. In the Big Indonesian Dictionary, it has the meaning to understand after seeing. Based on the opinion of the expert in our PowerPoint, we can conclude that knowledge is the result of the process of finding out that is obtained through the human sense. Next slide, please. Next, how to gain knowledge. So according to Noto Atmojo, there's 2 ways to gain knowledge. First, non-scientific ways. In non-scientific ways, there are first trial and error. This method is done by using several possibilities in solving the problem. And if these possibilities don't work, try other possibilities. For example, I once tried to make a brownie cake when I was on school holiday, and after it was cooked, the cake didn't expand. I asked my sister, it turned out that I didn't beat the egg long enough. The next day, I tried to go back and beat the egg longer, and when it was cooked, I saw the cake, it managed to grow. Number 2 is coincidence way. The discovery of the truth by chance occur because it is not intentional by the person concerned. Example, when I had a stomach, I tried to drink honey and soon my stomach disappeared. Next, based on prejudice. Prejudice means making a decisions before knowing the relevant facts about the object. For example, when my friend told a story, he showed a strange behavior. That moment, I felt that he was lying, and every time he told me, it was always hard to believe it. Number 4 is truth through revelation. Religious teaching is a true revelation from God through the prophets. For example, you should eating and drink while sleeping. And the last is intuitively. The truth is intuitively obtained by human quickly through outside consciousness and without going through the process of reasoning or thinking. For example, I was about to throw away food. Then I saw a mother and her child sitting hungry. I felt guilty for wasting food when someone else was hungry. Okay, that's all from me. I give it back to moderator. I'm sorry, maybe our moderator have a bad connection. Next material will be explained by Ulfah. Ulfah, time is yours.
The next is scientific way. Scientific way is a method, is a procedure that includes various types of actions, work patterns, technical method, and procedures for obtaining knowledge. According to A.R. Lacy in Route 1 2021, the framework of this scientific way are, next slide. The first is formulation of a problem, is a question about an empirical object. For example, the influence of parenting patterns on the formation of children's character. The second is preparation of a framework of thinking to make a hypothesis. For example, is there any influence of parenting style on the formation of children's character? Third is formulation of a hypothesis, which is a tentative answer or assumption to a question. For example, parenting patterns are very influenced with the formation of children's character. Next is hypothesis. Testing is a collection of facts to a proposed hypothesis. For example, conducted a study consisting of parents who treat their children well and not then see how the character of the child who is educated in a different way from each parent. The last is conclusion. For example, based on the research, it is known that parenting styles greatly influence the formation of children's character. Next. Next slide. The next is the nature of knowledge. First is ontology. The word ontology comes from Greek ontos, which means that which exists. Ontology, so it can be concluded that ontology is a theory of being as existence, or known as theory of being qua being. Ontology questions about what exists or about reality in this universe, which includes nature or cosmos, humans, anthropos, and God or theos. Science in ontology discusses what exists, which is not bound by any particular embodiment, universal, and tries to find the core obtained in every reality. So in ontology, what being questioned is not only physical reality, but also non-physical reality, such as supernatural things. Ontology is a discussion in order to find the essence of a thing. For the example, that was what was done by Greek philosopher Thales. After observing and thinking about what water is, he concluded that water is the deepest substance of origin of all things, because with water, life can run and life can develop. Another example of ontology is biology. Ontologically, or essentially, biology is the science of living things, such as plants and others, both those on this land, sea, and air. That's all from me. I'll give it back to moderator.
Okay, thanks to Ulfah. For the next speaker is Jeliana. To Jeliana, time is yours.
Okay, thanks to moderator. I will continue to present. The next material is about epistemology. The term epistemology comes from the Greek episteme, which means knowledge, and logos means theory. Kasana 2017. Epistemology is the study or philosophical theory of essence knowledge. Abidin 2011 in 34. Epistemology is a branch of philosophy that studies the origin and structure of knowledge. Jalaluddin 2009. Epistemology is a true theory of knowledge and is usually simply called theory of knowledge. Surip 2010. Thus, it can be concluded that epistemology is a theory or science that studies knowledge. Or epistemology can also be interpreted as a branch of philosophy that studies the validity of knowledge. Epistemology or theory of knowledge questions about truth, including the basis or source of knowledge, breadth of knowledge, method of knowledge, and truth of knowledge. Sulaiman 2019 in 12. The epistemological foundation of science is operationally reflected in the scientific method. Jerusalem 2013. Epistemology begins with the steps of problem formulations, drafting a frame of mind, formulating hypothesis, and drawing conclusion. Bahrum 2013. The next is example of how epistemology works. The first one is the birth of medical science, because at the first experts question the biological science dealing with the healing of the disease of living things. The stage of the search for knowledge that are being observed will be composed of a division between one knowledge and another. Another example is in Plato's Theaetetus, when analyzing knowledge as a true opinion, form as the ultimate reality, which leads to the definition that knowledge is an intuitive consciousness. The next is about axiology. The language of axiology comes from the word axios or Greek, which means value, and the word logos, which means theory. Dasuki 2020. Axiology is a branch of philosophy of science that questions how humans use their knowledge. Fardiansa 2008. Axiology means the theory of value, which deals with the usefulness of acquired knowledge. Zambroni 2009. The next, axiology as a branch of philosophy that discusses good and bad values in determining educational goals. Sadullah 2017. Thus, it can be concluded that axiology is a science or theory in which it discusses values. Axiology can be also interpreted as a branch of philosophy that studies the theory of value, namely the good or bad of the knowledge gained. Axiology, which questions about the values of life, which includes ethnic, aesthetics, and religion. Sulaiman 2019. Axiology examines the principle, the purpose of using knowledge, or a branch of philosophy that investigates the nature of value, which is viewed from a philosophical point of view. Suhartono 2008. Axiologically related to the usefulness of the knowledge gained by humans can be categorized as beneficial and useful, or vice versa. Dasuki 2020. The next is about example of how axiology works, such as studying atoms. We can use this for a source of energy for human safety. But on the other hand, this can also have the opposite effect, namely leading humans to the creation of atomic bombs that cause havoc. Okay, that's all from me. I give it back to moderator.
Okay, thanks to Jeliana. For the next is Nesha. To Nesha, time is yours.
Okay, thanks to moderator. I will explain about basic understanding of science. The first is fact. So fact is a state or event that is true and can be proven. Facts are statements about something that exists in reality and the truth cannot be doubted. Facts are often believed by many or generally to be truth. So, for example, facts are about apples, that apples fall from a tree. The second is concept. Next slide, please. Okay, concept. According to Dahar, a concept is an abstraction that has a class of objects, events, activities, relationships that have the same attributes. So concept can be divided into two types, namely abstract concept and concrete concepts. The concrete concept, for the example, is table, length, weight, and others. And the abstract concepts such as management, attitude, motivation, perception, and others. Okay, that's all from me. I give it back to the moderator.
Thanks to Nesha. For the next material will be explained by me. Okay, the three principle. According to Nina, 2010, the principle is something that is held as the main role model. According to Surajio, 2005, the principle is something that is the basis of the mind, thinking, standing, etc. According to Surya Sumantri, 2010, a principle is a truth whose truth has been proven by itself. According to Baharudin, 2007, principles are things that fundamentally become self-respect. According to Nutamagio, 2010, the principle is law. It cannot but have to be like that. So it can be concluded that the principle is something that is the basis of one's mind. Okay, the next slide. For theory, according to Saiful, 2011, states that theory is a statement that contains substantive conclusions about regularity. According to Hussein, 2004, the theory is a process of developing ideas that help us to explain how and why an event occurs. According to Madalis, 2003 states that theory is a system of abstract concepts and relationships of a concept that helps us to understand phenomena. According to Sukmandinata, 2004, theory is a concept that is related to each other, which contains a systematic view of phenomena. And according to Kontrarajingrat, 2000, states that theory is an opinion proposed as an explanation of an event or events. So it can be concluded that theory is a concept of opinion that helps to understand a phenomenon. Next slide. Five law. According to Mubarak, law is an orderly and well-structured system of regulations that binds the community. And Safahuddin, the law is only a collection of regulations that bind not only the community but also the judge. The law is something different from the form and content of the constitutions because it is a position that law supervise the judge in carrying out their positions in punishing wealthy people. Nota ad mojo, law is a regulation that is held to provide guidance to intelligent beings by intelligent beings who have power over them. And according to Surip, law is all rules that contain considerations of morality in terms of human behavior in society and which become guidelines for state authorities in carrying out their duties. That is, so it can be concluded that the law is a rule that must be obeyed. Okay, I think that's all from me. For this is our references, and if they are a question for my for group 4, please write name that in the chat box. Okay, to Fadisa, time is yours.
Okay, thank you to moderator. I'm Fadisa from group 5. I want to ask about intuitive truth is hard to believe because it cannot be proven. So is this intuitive truth is the right way to acquire the knowledge? Thank you.
Thanks to Fadisha. To the questions Fadisha will be answered by Ulfah. To Ulfah, time is yours.
Okay, thanks to moderator. I will answer question from Adis. Intuitive truth is indeed difficult to prove, but according to Irawan 2014, intuition can still use as a way for obtaining knowledge because intuitive truth can complement knowledge as a unified source that humans have. And intuitive truth also still provides a lot of additional information to our knowledge. So even so, it can be concluded that even though intuitive truth is difficult to prove, but it still can be a way to obtaining new knowledge. That's all from me. I'll give it back to moderator.
Thanks to Ulfah. Okay, thanks to Felicia and my friends. If there are mistakes for me, I I I apologize. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.